Hornet Nation, this is Ms. Minton, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use timers as motivators. Have you ever had a hard time getting motivated? There was a task that you really needed to do, but you just really didn't want to do it, and you put it off and you put it off, and maybe you never did it, and you just had to deal with the consequences of that. If so, you're pretty much like every other human on the planet. Even those of us who have lots of passion and drive and get stuff done occasionally have lapses in our motivation, because motivation isn't a constant. Motivation involves peaks and valleys. It changes over time. So one week you might be here, living high on a peak, getting your schoolwork done, knocking stuff out, and then 2 weeks later, you're here and you're in a deep valley, and just like going to your Google Meets is feeling like a struggle and you're just not into it. The good news is this is totally normal. The good news is also notice how this valley goes back up. So this is, like a often temporary situation. But let's talk about how we can maybe like even this out a little bit. How can we make those valleys not feel as deep? So what are some things that you can do? You can identify those things that are your perpetual peaks. So things that you love to do, things that you need very little prompting or like extra motivation to do, because you just are generally motivated to do them. Also identify your very probable valleys. So these are the things that most of the time you're not super psyched to do. And then connect a valley with a peak. So link together things that you don't want to do with things that you do want to do. You're going to form better habits. So specifically, if you are a procrastinator when you're not intrinsically motivated to get something done, if you're connecting your valleys with your peaks, you're going to get more of those unappealing tasks done. You're breaking that habit of procrastination, and you're building a new habit of productivity. So for me, my perpetual peaks are things like knitting and crocheting, talking to people about science, learning new things. Those are things that it doesn't take a lot to get me to want to do. Luckily for me, my job directly involves 2 of those things. When I'm teaching, I'm talking about biology with other people, whether they want to talk about it or not. And when I'm planning lessons, I often research things because I want my lessons to be engaging and informative and relevant to my students. It also keeps it fresh for me. These are some of my very probable valleys. I'm not someone who loves to clean. I get that it's important, but I don't jump out of bed on the weekend and think, oh, finally, I can just clean. That's just not me. In the realm of my job as a teacher, I did not get into teaching for the grading. So that's not really what makes my heart sing about my job. But is it important? Does it need to get done? Absolutely. So this is sort of a bonus tip for this video to remember your why. Sometimes if I'm looking at my ungraded assignments in Schoology and I think, oh man, I know grading's important and I need to do it, but I don't want to. Sometimes if I can remember the why, like why is it important to do the grading? How will I feel when I'm done with the grading? That's it. If I remind myself, I want my students to have feedback in a timely fashion. Sometimes that's enough. I'm not now excited about grading, but I'm doing it. Similarly, just visualizing how I'm going to feel when the grading is done can be the little boost that I need to get me actually grading those assignments and checking things off that list. So here's what I'm going to suggest you do. To connect your valleys and your peaks, make an agreement with yourself. That agreement's going to look something like this. If I do insert valley here, insert that task you're putting off for X number of minutes, then I can insert peak, that thing that you want to do, for X number of minutes. Actually set a timer. So if you were wondering when I was actually going to talk about the timers and the timer video, it's now. For whatever reason, when I make that agreement with myself, I am much more likely to keep that agreement if I physically set a timer, maybe on my microwave if I'm at home, or on my phone, whatever, anything that can act as a timer. And there's something about knowing that I'm on the clock, so to speak, that keeps me going. When I start to lose my focus, I can remind myself, nope, I'm going to do this for an hour or however long. And then when that timer goes off, I can do that thing that I want to do. I can do that thing that I'm looking forward to. Here are two sort of frameworks for thinking about this sort of method for productivity and motivation. Something that I use around my house, like when I need to do chores, is a power hour. So I do as much as I can for 1 hour, and then I take a break. A power hour is great when you have a large block of time available, so you're not like needing to go straight from that focused hour into another focused activity. It's also great for tasks that don't necessarily have a hard deadline. I need to clean my house, but generally it doesn't have to happen by, say, Tuesday at 9:17 a.m. Usually, like, any progress is good progress. So you could do 1 power hour in a day, and that's it. You don't need to do any more. And then you could repeat the next day or every other day. The Pomodoro technique is similar, except instead of doing whatever you can for an hour, you're shrinking that down to 25 minutes, and then you take a 15-minute break. So this is maybe a better option for when you don't have a lot of time available. So maybe it's asynchronous time between morning classes and afternoon classes, or maybe it's something where an hour is just too long. You're not going to be able to maintain your focus for that long, even though you have that reward coming. The Pomodoro technique could also be great for tasks that do need to be completed soon. So like something that has to get done today. And then you could potentially do multiple 25-minute bursts if that's what needs to happen. So if it doesn't get done in that 25 minutes, still take your break, still give yourself that reward, but then come back to it. Make sure that you're honoring your commitments. So if I'm doing my chores for an hour, and the deal I made with myself was that I'm going to read afterwards, I'm going to relax, maybe have a cup of tea, whatever, I need to actually do that. Or else when I try to use the power hour technique again, it's probably not going to work because I didn't actually give myself the reward. I just did the thing I don't want to do. Similarly, if I'm going to use the Pomodoro technique, maybe during lunch, then I'm going to do my 25 minutes of grading or whatever it is that I need to knock out. And then really, because of the nature of my job, I know I'm going to get to teach my class after that. So I've got that 5-minute break to sort of like mentally transition. But I know that the reward of getting to talk science with people is coming up. I think it's also really important to be kind to yourself. Sometimes we think that motivation is either something that you always have or you don't, and therefore something is wrong with you. So we can get into a mindset of thinking things like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Other people do their assignments. What is wrong with me that I can't do it? I know that I should do it. Why am I just not doing it? That is not kind to yourself, first of all. And also from a very practical standpoint, spinning your wheels, beating yourself up, is time you could have been spending doing the thing that you're beating yourself up over. So don't do that. Don't beat yourself up. Remember that motivation waxes and wanes over time, and that just means you're a human. To close us out here, we've got some encouraging words from Mrs. Beck on the left and Mrs. Johns on the right. I hope this Hornet life hack helps you work smarter, not harder. Take care and protect the nest.